candidate that we talk with on the phone lines. Chris Lauzen, how are you, sir?
Hey, real good, Jeff. Thanks very much for inviting me to participate this morning.
Oh, we're delighted to have you aboard, and this is a wonderful way. Folks know you so well, but this is a great way here on WRMN to get to know you a little bit more. Chris, of course, you're running for Kane County chairman. So let's start out. People do know you, but let's make sure that we know you both professionally and personally. So tell us a little bit about yourself, sir.
Well, thanks very much. You know, I've been married for 30 years to the girl who sat behind me in first grade at Holy Angels Grade School. You know, she was the smartest kid in the class and the toughest kid. Beat up my best friend Billy Eiliff because he beat up her little brother. So we learned early. We have four sons. One is a Marine Corps pilot. Another is an investment banker in Chicago. Another is a naval officer who's just come back into San Diego Harbor, going to be home this weekend. And then a Dartmouth engineer, a football player, and a new Scotty dog puppy, Archie. So graduated first in my class at Marmion Military Academy, honors management science and English at Duke, earned a CPA from the University of Illinois through testing while I worked for my brother in his accounting practice for a couple years, went back to the Harvard Business School, graduated from there in 1978, helped my dad grow his accounting business from 150 offices to 450 offices around the country. When I asked if, you know, someday I might have a part of the equity in the company, you know, he says, you know, Chris, you can always buy a franchise. So my wife and I bought a franchise, and that's how I really got to know Elgin and the Fox Valley. It was providing accounting and tax work for small business owners. And then most recently, I've served for the last 20 years in the state Senate. One of my closest friends was Steve Rauschenberger, who served so admirably the people of Elgin.
Yeah, you guys were part of the Fab Five of that time frame, weren't you, sir?
Oh, yeah.
Hey, congratulations. Your family's so well known. You have all the Ivy League schools represented, it seems, Dartmouth, Harvard, USC on the West Coast, West Aurora High School-wise. So, again, congratulations on a wonderful family.
Wow. I married the right girl.
Thank heavens. In first grade, she sat behind you.
Can you believe it?
What if she had a different last name? She'd probably be 3 or 4 rows away.
That's right.
Would you have gotten together is the question. Hey, well, of course, you've been a well-known state senator since 92. Now, why have you decided to leave Springfield, come back home, and run for the Kane County Board president?
You know, like the others who you have on the show today, I love to be useful to other people. You know, that's what Terry Hunt and Tom Hartwell, Dr. Bob Tabali, what they're all about. And so what I want to do with the time that I'm serving other people is to have an impact. And I believe that this reform team can actually make things better in Kane County.
Well said, sir. Now, talk about some of your qualifications for this office, sir.
You know, I think that people don't care so much what you know until that they know what you care, or that you care about the things that are important to them. For 20 years, I've served consistently, keeping the promises of working hard, staying honest, using common sense. I think that the principles that we share together are faith and family and freedom to prosper. In this race, I'm the only pro-life candidate, pro-Second Amendment, pro-traditional marriage, anti-red light camera, and anti-illegal immigration.
And that leads us to the next part of the question. Why should people vote for you? You've already touched on that, your great experience and your knowledge of our area.
Well, I think that it's the knowledge of the area, but it's that, especially in a Republican primary, I share the traditional conservative values that the people in Kane County share.
All right, well said, sir. Let's talk about some of the issues, 2 or 3 of the most important issues you think in this campaign of 2012.
Well, I think that the thing that's driving my constituents just crazy is that they see their property values going down, but their taxes keep going up. Just the county portion of their property taxes have gone up by 50% in the last 7 years, and so the first priority is to freeze the county property tax levy. You know, not messing around with the assessments and the tax rates. But the product of those two things is actually how much a local government levies, and so we need to freeze that. The other thing that has just become like an epidemic in Kane County, and I don't think that it was ever here before. And the reason why it's so important that we elect a whole team of reformers is we got to eliminate the pay-to-play. Kane County has become a little mini Cook County, in my opinion, where there's a culture of cronyism, where people say, "Oh, Chris, what do you mean?" In the last 7 years, the person who's been my predecessor in this position has collected $1.5 million in campaign contributions. I don't think that there's a person I've talked to in the last 6 months, a half a year, who thinks that that's not too much money. It is too much money. In fact, if you take $1.5 million divided by the two election cycles, as there's only been 2 election cycles in those 8 years, 4-year terms, that's $750,000 per election. That's 5 times what it costs me to run and win a seat in the Illinois State Senate. It's way too much money. Then when you take a look at, well, where's that money coming from? 2 out of every $3 are coming from contractors, employees, or people seeking political favor, and this has got to end. So I'm very excited about being a part of the team that is making our political pitch to the people who are listening to your show this morning, asking for their help. If they're not happy with what's happened in Chicago and Cook County, Illinois, and the federal government, well, I say, let's not bring it home here to Kane County, and we've got to reverse what's gone on under the previous administration.
We hear from Kane County Chairman candidate Chris Lauzen here on our Kane County Republican Candidates Forum. Chris, as we talk with you, remind the folks what separates you from your opponents as well.
If people were to ask me, well, what word describes you that's different from your opponent, I would say it's empathy. I think that I understand and feel what others feel. In 20 years, people know that I listen, I care, and then I respond. For, again, 20 years, and then for 15 years before that in my accounting practice, I return every telephone call or piece of correspondence that comes by either regular mail or email from a constituent. At least I show up for work and I open up my mind and my heart and my ears, and I listen and I return every telephone call. So I think it's really that I feel what other folks are feeling, and I'm doing my best to do something about it.
A reminder, today is the last early voting day, and of course, primary election day is next Tuesday, March 20. You've done so many things, as we talked at the top of our conversation with you, Chris Lauzen, professionally and personally, but remind us of some of the things you're most proud of.
Well, perhaps, Jeff, I appreciate that question. It's maybe not the proudest of. I can tell you what's most important to me. Faith and then family, freedom to prosper, but what means the most to me is I deeply love my wife, Sarah, and our children. It's one of the reasons why it's been a tough 3 months here in the attacks from the other side, actually calling my wife names, mocking a sweater that she's worn. Unbelievable. Criticizing a family picture where 2 of our sons are in their military uniforms, not asking, well, when did that take place? And it was months before the campaign started, and it was at a graduation ceremony where our 3rd son was commissioned into the U.S. Navy, and he was sworn into service by his older brother, Ted, who's now a Marine Corps captain. And I just think that what the establishment Republican Party has done in this, of allowing those kinds of attacks, I think that Pat Brady, who's the chairman of the Illinois Republican Party and my opponent's chairman in a primary, it makes no sense, and what Mike Kenyon has said and done in this campaign, when they call for unity, I think that it rings hollow if they're going to attack and take sides in a primary. But I guess that one of the things, we just have to overcome that. I think that it takes the backbone to stand up to people like George Ryan in our own party, Rod Blagojevich, who's showing up for prison today. 20 years of standing up against people like that. I think that we need to take a broom and make a clean sweep in Kane County and get us back to a government that we can be proud of, that's limited, smaller, and more effective.
And Chris, that leads us to our next thought. You've always led by example. You're always proud of it, aren't you?
Well, I'm trying. Jeff, just trying.
Well, it's each and every day. You can't argue with that concept. Anything you'd like to leave us with? Any final thoughts here on this so close to the election day on Tuesday?
Well, I do encourage, just as you have already, I encourage people to go out and vote. We really can't complain about the type of government we have if we're not going to participate in the process. Then I think, there's a team that represents reform. I think it starts with Cliff Surges running for state senate. He's running against the person who I'm running to replace, who has all that money. And just 2 days ago, Karen McConaughey was confronted at the end of a county board meeting where they had just taken a vote on a project, a development project in Sugar Grove, where the developer had given her $2,000 and Kathy Hurlbut, who serves on the board and is running for another office, $1,000. And it's not that anybody's saying, well, this is a terrible thing. It's that if you don't disclose it, some people would claim that there's a conflict of interest. That idea of cronyism and at least the perception of pay-to-play. It's important that Cliff Surges is elected to the state senate because we don't want to continue on a larger stage what's occurred in Kane County over the last 7 years. And then Terry Hunt at auditor, Tom Hartwell at circuit clerk, and Dr. Bob Topali at coroner. All those people represent reform, and I know that you're going to be talking with these other gentlemen in a little while. So the basic promise, all people really want from me after 20 years of experience and want from other people who serve them, is honest competence. They want you to show up for work, do your very best, and we will produce honest, competent administration through innovation, best practices, and austerity. So it's time that we put government on a fixed income. We're going to freeze that county property tax levy.
Chris, we're down to about 2 minutes left in our segment with you, sir. If we wanted to get in touch with you or your campaign, how would we do that?
The best way is just to call 630-264-2419. That's the campaign telephone number, so it's 630-264-2419, or go to Lauzen.com. And it really is important that we have a whole team of reformers. That's why I'm just thrilled to be on the program today with the other people who you're going to be introducing.
We're delighted to have you on this program, of course. Tell us where you might be appearing as we approach Election Day. Do you have any special events upcoming?
Oh gosh, we're it's very exciting time. We're buried in those. Actually, let's see. I know that there's a pancake breakfast and that's coming up tomorrow morning. I'm sorry, Jeff.
That's all right.
I that's why I write things down, is I'm focused on our conversation as opposed to what I get to do next.
And you're such a busy man, so we can fully appreciate that. We know we'll see you out and about and up until Election Day and after that, of course. So, Chris Lauzen, we want to thank you for talking with us here on our Kane County Republican Candidates Forum, and good luck to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Jeff.
Thank you. Bye-bye, Chris.
Bye-bye.
Chris Lauzen, candidate for Kane County Chairman, a wonderful individual there. We appreciate his conversation. He was on the phone line, so we thank Chris for